The Plum in the Golden Vase Embroidery Chongzhen Version Chapter 82. Chen Jingji makes a double. Pan Jinlian is enthusiastic and cold-faced. The poem says, I heard that if you wear a phoenix spelled with both hands, you might as well wear a single crocodile gauze. Who knows who burns the night fragrance? Looking sadly at the eel sinking in the water, the green curls on the temples before the wind, the jade face wants to be in the red tide, don't bear the poor night in vain. The two bays are beautiful, under the moon. Right tune moon over the West River. Speaking of Pan Jinlian and Chen Jingji, since they succeeded in the wing room, the two of them have tasted the benefits, stealing the cold day by day and providing warmth at dusk. Some lean on each other's shoulders and laugh. Some sit side by side flirting. They pinch and tug at each other, all without fear. There may be people who are not allowed to speak in front of them, so they write down their thoughts, twist them into pieces of paper, and throw them on the ground. If you have something to say, tell me, and I will tell you something. One day, in April, Pan Jinlian wrapped a piece of silver sweet band on her sleeve in a gauze sachet, which contained a strand of hair and some cypresses. She sealed it properly and wanted to give it to Jingji. Not wanting Jingji to be out of the room, he opened the window and threw himself in. Later, Jingji entered the room and saw that the seal was very thick. When he opened it, he found a sachet of sweat towel and a word written on the paper called parasitic grass. Send this silver silk handkerchief and sachet to him. I had black hair at first. Songbear wants you to always care about you, and write words of love sickness with tears. The slave shadow under the lamp in the middle of the night has no need to wait for the fight in the middle of the night. In his speech, Jingji asked him to wait under the tea frame for a private meeting. Then he sealed a golden fan with Xiang Fei's pen, wrote a word on it to answer him, and put his sleeve into the garden. Unexpectedly, Yunyang was sitting in Jinlian's room, and known to Jingji. He walked into the corner door and called out, Is Qi at home? Jinlian heard his voice, and Yunyang was afraid that she would break up after hearing it, so she quickly opened the curtain and walked out, watching him waving his hands. He pretended to say, Who am I? It turned out to be brother-in-law Chen who came to look for the eldest sister. The eldest sister was here just now and went to the garden pavilion with him to pick flowers. Jingji saw Yunyang in the room. Inside, he secretly handed the things to the woman, and he went out. Yunyang then asked, What is brother-in-law Chen doing here? Jinlian said, He came to look for eldest sister, and I went back to him to go to the garden. This way, she hid it from Yunyang. After a while, Yunyang got up and went back. The golden lotus was taken out from the sleeve and opened, but it turned out to be a bamboo and gold fan for the Xiang concubine. On it was a kind of green cattail, with half a stream of water, and a poem from Water Fairy. The purple bamboo and white gauze are very carefree. The green and green cattails are skillfully made, and the gold hinges and silver coins are very wonderful. The beauty is worthy of use. She can cover the scorching sky and attract the wind. There are always people with sleeves on, and there are no people around, and they are slowly swaying. Stop teaching the common people and see that they have stolen it. When the woman saw his words, at night when the moon was rising, she sent two girls, Chunmai and Qiuju, some wine to eat with him, and locked him up in the Kang room over there to sleep. Then, in his own room, with the green light half lit and the red candle burning high, he tidied up the bed, quilts and pillows, incense, and bathed his wife under a separate wooden incense shed, waiting for Jingji to come and attend the wedding. Sister Ximen happened to be invited to the back by Yunyang that night to listen to Mrs. Wang's announcement. Only Yuang Shuier was in the room. Jingji gave him a handkerchief and said to him, in the guard's room, I will go to your Wen Yang's place to play chess. When the eldest girl comes in, you come quickly. Yuang Shuier agreed. Jingji succeeded, walked into the garden, and saw the shadow of the moon sifting through the flowers, varying in size. When I walked under the tea trellis stand, I saw a woman taking off her crown, holding back the dark clouds, and quietly standing alone under the wood incense shed. Jingji suddenly stood out from under the tea curtain and hugged the woman with both hands. The woman was startled and said, Bah, short life. Suddenly foreign affairs came out, and I was shocked. If it were me, you could just hug me. If it were someone else, would you dare to hug me? Ji ate half-heartedly and said with a smile, I hugged you earlier, but I hugged the matchmaker by mistake. There's nothing I can do about it. The two then hugged each other and entered the room hand in hand. There were lights and candles in the room, and wine and food were set on the table. The corner door was propped up on one side, and they sat side by side drinking. The woman then asked, "Come here. Where is the eldest sister?" Jingji said, "The eldest sister has gone to listen to the announcement of the scroll. I will pay for the yuanxiao. If you have something to call me here. I just said I would play chess here. After that, make a place for laughter." After drinking for a long time, there is a saying that a romantic tea makes a match, and wine is a matchmaker. Unconsciously, bamboo leaves pierced the heart, peach blossoms appeared on the face, one mouth was kissing, the other cheek was touching, the lamp was covered, and they went to bed to have sex. There is a small poem in 6 Niangzi as evidence. When you come in, you will be hugged by your slave. The slave stretched out the brocade quilt, and his pretty enemy was very naughty. "Hey, lift the slave's feet." Lifting her feet, she stirred up the dark clouds, and her bun was crooked. The two of them had just finished their conversation when they heard Yuan Shao calling the door and saying, "The eldest lady has come into the room." Jingji hurriedly got dressed. Exactly, crazy bees, waves and butterflies are sometimes seen flying into the pear blossoms and nowhere to be found. It turns out that there are 3 upstairs rooms on Pan Jinlian's side, with Buddha statues in the middle and raw medicines and spices piled on both sides. From then on, the two of them were deeply in love with each other, and they were as close as each other, and they met each other every day. It was a busy day. Pan Jinlian dressed up in the morning and came upstairs to burn incense in front of Guanyin Bodhisattva. Unexpectedly, Chen Jingji was taking the keys upstairs, opening the warehouse door to get herbs and spices, and bumped into him. This woman did not burn incense. Seeing that there was no one upstairs, the two of them hugged each other and kissed each other, smacking their lips. One called her kiss Wen Yang and the other said my heart is short-lived, because she said, "Let's do it here while there is no one. Come on." He took off his clothes and pants, and stood on a spring bench with his arms flying over his shoulders, his spiritual roots half entranced, and he was very prepared. It was no coincidence that the two of them were doing a good job, but Chun Mai was coming upstairs to pick up a box of tea. The two Minatos were at a loss as to what to do and were both taken aback. Chun Mai was afraid that he would be embarrassed, so she quickly turned back and walked down the ladder. In a panic, Jingji didn't have any clothes in his pocket, so the woman put on her skirt and hurriedly called Chun Mai. "My good sister, come up here and I'll talk to you." Then Chun Mai walked upstairs. Jin Lian said, "My good sister, your brother-in-law is not someone else. I want you to know it now. We are in love and cannot be separated. You must never tell anyone. Just keep it in your heart." Chun Mai then said, "Good mother, tell me what you are talking about. In these years of servitude to my maid, don't you know that my mother's confidants are willing to tell others?" The woman said, "If you are willing to cover us, come over while your brother-in-law is here. Sleep with your brother-in-law. And then I will believe you. If you don't want to, you just don't want to see me anymore." Chun Mei's face turned red and white with embarrassment, so she had to obey him. "Take off your Hunan skirt, and tie your trousers, lean back on the stool, and do your best for this young man. There is such a thing. It's true, 2 pearls are priceless, but Tin Lang can get all the diamonds. There is red embroidered shoes as evidence, pretending to be a close son-in-law. He secretly cheats on his mother-in-law. There is a lot of evil hidden in the favor. They openly talk about the etiquette of children, but secretly form a relationship with Yan Ying. And the two of them are together now." After Jingji and Chun Mai finished playing, everyone just laughed. From then on, Pan Jinlian became a family with Chun Mai and secretly made a secret appointment with this young man. Not just for one day, but only with Q Ju on her back. On the first day of June, Grandma Pan's old illness disappeared, and someone came to tell her. Wu Yunyang bought a table with 3 animal sacrifices, and taught Jin Lian to sit in a sedan chair to visit the funeral and offer sacrifices. She went there and came back. The next day, the 3rd day of June, Jin Lian got up early, sat in Yunyang's room, talked for half a day, walked under the wall in the hall and courtyard, and urinated in a hurry. He was lifting up his skirt and squatting to urinate. It turned out that Simon King had died. No one came and went, and the ceremonial door of the waiting hall was just closed and would not open. Jingji lived in the east wing, And when he got up, he suddenly heard the sound of someone peeing on the wall. He quietly looked out the window, but didn't think it was him. So he said, "Is that the one who is acting wild and peeing here? Lift him up. Did your dress get wet?" The woman quickly put on her skirt and walked to the window and asked, "So you are in the room? We're just getting up. Isn't the eldest sister in the room, back there? When will you come out? I didn't go to bed until the middle of the night last night. My aunt took me behind to listen to the red luo bow scroll. We sat there all night and almost broke my waist from exhaustion. I can't get up today." Jinlian said, "If you are a thief, please stop lying to me. I was not at home yesterday. When did you come to the upper room to hear the announcement?" "The maid said that you came to eat in Meng Sanara's room yesterday." Jingji said, "My eldest sister has been watching me for a long time. I am always in the upper room. How often do I come and go in his room?" As he said this, the young man stood on the king and made his words hard like a stick standing upright. I felt relief through the window. When the woman saw it, she couldn't help but laughed and cursed. "The strange thief held me tight for a short time, but he suddenly pulled out your head, which scared me. You take it in as soon as possible, and I can prick you with a needle, teach you to endure the pain," Jingji said with a smile. "You old man doesn't want to see him get up this time, so you can give him a favor, and it will be a bit of a shame on your part." The woman scolded, "What a weird person. I'm so used to it." He took out a small bronze mirror from his waist, placed it on the window lattice, pretended to evenly look in the mirror, and smacked his words with his red lips, which gave the young man a sense of enlightenment, full of spring and heartwarming. Just as she was in a busy place, she suddenly heard the sound of someone walking. The woman quickly took off her mirror and walked aside. Jingji took those words back, but unexpectedly, Lai Anar's young boy came over and said, "Fu Daling is inviting his brother-in-law to dinner." Jingji said, "Teach you Fu Daling and just eat while I comb my hair." Lai Anar went back. The woman then quietly said to Jingji, "Where are you going in the evening?" "In the house. I will ask Chen Mai to call you. Wait for me at least. I have something to say to you." Jingji said, "I will follow my destiny." After the woman finished speaking, she went back to her room. After Jingji finished washing himself, he went to the shop to do business on his own. No question. Soon, it was getting dark. That day, the moon was dark and the stars were dense, and the weather was very hot. The woman asked Chen Mai to boil hot water for bathing in the room and trimming her toenails. She made up the bed and pillow, drove away the mosquitoes, put down the gauze curtain, and lit incense in the small seal. Chen Mai called out, "Mother, today is the first day of the dog days. Don't you want some impatiens to dye your nails? I'll find some for you." The woman said, "Where can you find them?" Chen Mai said, "I can find them in the big yard over there. I'll go pick some." "Mother, ask Kyuju to find a pestle and mortar to pound the garlic." The woman whispered in Chen Mai's ear and quietly told Chen Mai, "Please ask your brother-in-law to come to the side room in the evening, and I'll talk to him." Chen Mai left, and the woman stayed in the room. After washing her fragrant skin and trimming her toenails, she was also in a good mood. Chen Mai picked a few impatiens and asked Kyuju to pound them for half a day. The woman also gave him a few cups of wine and sent him to sleep in the kitchen. The woman dyed her fingers like spring onions under the light and asked Chen Mai to bring a stool to the courtyard, spread a cool mat, quilt and pillow to cool down. It was about midnight, but the red door was silent. The jade rope was turning low, and the two stars of Altair and Vega were separated by the two banks of the Milky Way. Suddenly, there was a burst of flower fragrance and a few fireflies. The woman held a silk fan in her hand and lay on the pillow waiting. Chen Mai closed the corner door ajar. It was exactly waiting for the moon under the west wing. The door facing the wind was half open. The shadow of the flower moved across the wall, and I thought it was the jade girl coming. It turned out that Jingji agreed to shake the hibiscus tree as a signal, so that he would know that he was coming. When the woman saw the swaying shadow of the flower branches, she knew that he was coming, so she coughed in the yard to respond. He pushed the door open and came in, and the two sat side by side. The woman asked, "Who is in the room?" Jingji said, "My elder sister didn't come out today. I told Yung Xiao to stay in the room. Call me first if you need anything." Then he asked, "Is Kyuju asleep?" The woman said, "She is sound asleep." After that, They hugged each other and made love on the bench in the yard, naked. It was so affectionate. But I saw. The two were in harmony, hugging each other's shoulders and touching each other's cheeks. The hands were rubbing the fragrant breasts, which were soft and amazing, lifting her feet to take off her embroidered shoes. Her jade body was in her arms, the tongue scenting Xiang's mouth open. And the phoenix were finished. And she told Duakai, come early tomorrow. After the two finished making love, the woman took out 5 taels of silver and handed it to Jingji, saying, your grandmother Pan outside the door has died. Your father gave her the coffin on the 3rd day. When the coffin was buried, your aunt asked me to go to the funeral and burn paper. Tomorrow, the funeral will be held, but your aunt will not let me go, saying that your father is in mourning. So she just went out. I give you these 5 taels of silver. Tomorrow morning, I ask you to go outside the door early to send off your grandmother Pan and send money to help her bury her in the ground. Then you can come home, just like me. Jingji took the silver with one hand and said, it's not a big deal. I will definitely go out tomorrow morning, finish my work, and come back to you. After saying that, he went back to the side room early for fear that his elder sister would enter the room. I won't go into details about the night. The next day, he came home at dinner time. Jinlian just got up and combed her hair in the room. Jingji came back to tell her, and went to Jiaohua temple outside the door to get to jasmine flowers for the woman to wear. The woman asked, has the coffin been buried? Jingji said, what does it matter to me? If you don't send the old man's gold into the cabinet. I dared to reply, there are still 2 taels and 6 or 7 coins of silver left. Give it to your sister to keep for your living expenses. Thank you very much. I will report it to you. When the woman heard that her mother was buried, she burst into tears. She called Chen Mai, soak the flowers in the cup and bring tea to your brother-in-law. Soon, 2 boxes of steamed cakes and 4 dishes of side dishes were sent to Jingji for tea. And then he went to the front. From then on, he became closer and closer to this young man. One day, in July, the woman made an appointment with him early in the morning. Don't go anywhere today. Wait in your room. I will go to your room and play with you. Jingji agreed, but unexpectedly, Chui Ben invited him to play with a few friends outside the door that day. After a day, he came home drunk and fell asleep on the bed, not knowing the sky or the ground. At dusk, Jinlian suddenly came to his room and saw him lying on the bed. She pushed him but couldn't wake him up. She knew he had drunk there, but something strange happened. The woman touched his sleeve and took out a golden lotus hairpin with 2 lines of words on it. The golden rain horse neighs in the fragrant grass, and the people in the jade tower are drunk in the apricot blossom sky. Yingliang took a look and recognized it as Meng Yulu's hairpin. How did it fall into his sleeve? I guess he has some connection with Yulu. Otherwise, why did he put his hairpin in his sleeve? No wonder this short-lived man has been so heartless and emotionless in front of me several times. If I don't leave a few words for him, just say I didn't come. Wait for me to write 4 lines of poetry on the wall to let him know. When I see it, I will slowly ask about his whereabouts. So she took a pen and wrote 4 lines on the wall. The poem says, walking alone in the study, I haven't woken up yet, and the goddess has gone down to the clouds in vain. The king of Xiang is naturally emotionless, and he has failed to live up to the love he has shared day and night. After writing, the woman went back to her room. Jingji woke up from his drunken sleep and lit the lamp in his room, thinking that the woman came to meet him today. But he was drunk. He turned around and saw 4 lines of poetry written on the wall. The ink was still fresh, and he read it once, and he knew that he had come, but he left empty-handed. He regretted it very much. It's time to get up, and my elder sister and Yuang Shuer haven't come out yet. If I go to her, the corner gate will be closed again. He walked under the hibiscus flowers, shaking the branches as a signal, and heard no movement from inside. So he stepped on the Taihu stone and climbed over the pink wall. The woman saw that he had wine and was drunk and slept well, so she hated to go back to her room, and felt depressed. So she went to bed with her clothes on. Unexpectedly, he climbed over the wall in the middle of the night and saw that there was no one in the yard. He thought that the maids were all asleep, so he quietly tiptoed to the door of the room and saw that the door was ajar. So he stepped in. The moonlight through the window showed the woman lying on the bed leaning to the inside alone. She whispered, "My lovely lady." After several calls, she got no response. She said, "Don't blame me. Today, Brother Chui and his friends invited me to go to Wuliyuan village outside our house to play archery and have fun for a day. I got drunk when I got home. I didn't know you were coming. I broke your promise. Please forgive me." The woman ignored him. Seeing that he ignored her, Jingji panicked and knelt on the ground, repeating what he said over and over again. The woman slapped him on the face and cursed him. "You ungrateful thief. Keep quiet. Maid, you heard me. I know you have someone and you don't care about me. What did you bring today?" Jingji said, "Brother Chui took me outside to shoot arrows. I got drunk and fell asleep. I missed your appointment. Don't be angry. I saw you left a poem on the wall and knew I was angry with you." The woman said, "You are such a troublemaker. Don't talk nonsense. Be quiet. You are so naughty that I can't let you go. Even if Chui invited you to drink today and you came home drunk. Where is the hairpin in your sleeve?" Jingji said, "I found it in the garden that day. It's been 2 or 3 days now." The woman said, "You are still playing tricks. Did you find it in the garden? Pick up another one and I will believe you. This hairpin is the hairpin on the head of Ming Joner, the whore. I recognize it 1,000 times. It's absolutely true. His name is even on it. You are still fooling me." She said angrily that when I was not at home the day before yesterday, he asked you to eat in his room. So you and him were 7 or 8. I asked you, but you still refused to admit it. You are not related to him. So how did his hairpin come into your hand? So you told him all my affairs. No wonder he smiled at me the day before yesterday. It turned out that your words were in it. From now on, you are you and I am me. Green bean skin, please leave. After hearing this, Jingji was so anxious that he cursed and cried, saying, "If I, Jingji, give him a single word of silk, hemp or soap thread, the god of Dongyu will be the one who helps him. He will not live to the age of 30. He will be born with a boil as big as a bull and suffer from jaundice for 3 to 5 years. He can't drink soup or water." The woman didn't believe it and said, "You are a thief. I swear that my teeth hurt when I talk about it. It's a pity that you don't have a bad mouth." The two chatted for a while. Seeing that it was late at night, they took off their clothes and lay down on the bed next to each other. The woman turned her body round, facing away from him, and ignored him. She let his sister talk about her, and just hit him on the face. Jingji was so frightened that he dared not breathe a word, and suffered from cholera all night. At dawn, Jingji was afraid that the maid would get up, so he climbed over the wall again and went to the front wing room. It is exactly, the 3 lights have shadows. Who can they tie? All things have no roots, they just grow by themselves.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.